Sean, speaking of jobs, how about you talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I really there's a transition assistance program that a lot of veterans will go through, and it's a lot of information in a very short period of time. And what my experience is talking to veterans, and I went through it myself, is there's two things that are very important to me. One is, where am I going to go? Am I going to stay in the place where I exited service? Am I going to go back home? So where am I going to go, and what am I going to do? What am I qualified to do? It's very, very important. So I talk to a lot of actual active duty service members, even before you get out, about having an exit strategy. So with that exit strategy, the sooner the better. So have that exit strategy. I would recommend, and people really don't think about this, they're more reactive, but when you get into the military, when you're picking your job that you're going to have, start an exit strategy at that point. But you could stay 3 years, 23 years, 30 years. That exit strategy, or that plan that you should have when you leave the service, is going to change, and it's going to change many times. That's okay. It can change 100 times. That's all fine. But the point is not to be reactive when you get out, like I was, and so many veterans were. They get out, and now it's okay. Now what do I do? What am I qualified to do? And it's seeing somebody. I know for us at the Texas Veterans Commission, we have employment counselors out there, career advisors, and that's to help you identify what you can do. What are those things? Because I got out and I thought I could only be a security guard and a secretary. Those are the two things I thought I qualified for. Speaking to my counterparts now at the Veterans Commission, I understand there's so much more I can do. So it's getting that help, but having that strategy, and just plan for the exit whenever that is, as soon as possible. Just have a plan, and again, that plan could change.
And we're going to go down that rabbit hole here in the next few podcasts. So you're right. Have a plan. Unfortunately, just like most service members, I didn't have a plan either. So I thought I did, but no, it didn't work out that way. So no, tracking with you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and that one thing I would also advise is, as soon as you get out, find that local VA healthcare facility and register as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Do not wait. As soon as you identify where you're going, register, because healthcare waits can be stressful, and you need healthcare as soon as possible. So I would just register as soon as possible. And
it's out there. Bill, what if you're, when you come out of the military, do you have is there a grace period that no matter what your status is, you can go to the VA hospital?
If you don't have a service-connected disability, or you don't acquire a service-connected disability, you got about 5 years of medical care without having to qualify. But he's absolutely right. You got to enroll. Even if you're not going to use that system, you want to enroll, because the VA system is based upon how many enrollments you have and how many people are enrolled are using the system. And you can enroll online. So it's easy to start the registration. The registration is when you actually go out and you bring your 214 and you see your doctor, and you let them know whether or not you really want to be a user, or you've just enrolled for whatever purpose you've enrolled for.
And to tag along to that, if you're within your 5-year benefit post-military, a lot of folks don't know, that women veterans don't know that includes maternity care. So women often will get out of the service because they don't find the service to be compatible with starting a family, and the VA has really terrific maternity care during that time. So I know that medical care is probably going to be an issue you explore a whole lot more, but that's one you should know about right away.
The good thing about enrollment is, once enrolled, you're always enrolled. But if you don't enroll, you may not be eligible at the time you try to enroll. That's why you want to get enrolled. Registration follows, but the first thing you got to do is file the claim. If you don't claim it, you won't get it. And it's important that you go ahead and get enrolled, and then once enrolled, unless the law changes, and it's unlikely to do that, you're always enrolled.
Okay.
There's some veterans that don't have to enroll to get care. Those, you never have to enroll to get care for a condition that's service-related, that's been adjudicated service-related. So if you got an award letter that says you've been adjudicated for a particular disability, you're going to get treatment for that from the VA, whether you're enrolled or not enrolled.
Okay.
Or if you're over 50% service-connected, you're going to get treated for everything, even though you may never have enrolled. Wallingford never enrolled, and he drives them nuts trying to go get dental care, and they have to give it to him, and they do.
Okay.
Another point too, when you enroll in the VA system, keep in mind if you're listening to this from out of Texas, you can go to any VA medical facility anywhere in the United States and get care because you are in the system.
And its territories.
And its territories as well. So it not just because you registered in Dallas, Texas, means you have to go to Dallas, Texas if you've now moved to Utah or California or wherever. Once you're in the system, it's nationwide.
You can also get care if you're enrolled at all of our Commonwealth nations, Canada, England, Scotland, Ireland, France. So the fact is, even if you're traveling worldwide, you may be able to get treatment at non-VA facilities at other international facilities.
Military type, their
Yes, sir.
version of veteran, or
In their health care system. And remember, they've got essentially universal health care. So we treat theirs,
Yeah.
they treat ours.
I see. But you have to sign up.
You have to be enrolled, or it's got to be treatment for a service-connected
Okay.
condition.
Yeah. So Eric, you brought up a good point prior to the podcast. Can you kind of elaborate on what you were talking about in regards to that first year?
Sure. I was mainly trying to describe the fact that you need to keep the family involved because the family is also transitioning from military to civilian life. It's enough for the military member, and I've seen oftentimes where this translates itself into anxieties and depression, those sorts of things. It can get out of hand real fast because there's just such a fear of the unknown. But keep in mind, you have a spouse and children also that, they're wondering what's going to happen too, and it's best to keep them involved.
Yeah, Ann, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I am a spouse, and Eric is absolutely right. My husband retired 4 years ago from the Army, and that was 2 years before I started working for the Veterans Land Board, so I didn't even know a fraction of what I know now. And I kind of had a faint notion that the TVC existed, but it didn't really occur to me to seek their help for things like the health evaluation, the medical evaluation board that you're going through when you're getting out. Both the DoD and the VA are using that to determine the ratings that you're going to get when you get out, and that's again, something that you need to pay very close attention to. And so at the time, when my husband was going through TAPS at Fort Hood, I actually attended those classes with him. And Bill's right earlier when he mentioned it is like drinking through a fire hose. And so if you can bring your spouse or a parent or a brother or sister or cousin or girlfriend, whoever, two brains are better than one. Mm-hmm. And if you don't understand something, speak up, ask questions. And yes, you're not going to understand and you're not going to be able to absorb everything, in those classes, but just to reiterate, really do try to focus and pay attention, take notes, because you are transitioning into the new phase of your life. This is your next mission, as Edie said earlier. And also, as just a side note, make sure that the DoD and the VA have your current contact information. That may seem like common sense, but people don't think about doing that. They need to have your phone number and your email at the very least. If you're going to be moving around, it is up to you to contact them and give them your current mailing address. And believe me when I say that the VA will send you a lot of paper. Mm-hmm. So, and it's very important because if that paper is not getting to you in time, that's going to slow down the process whereby you're obtaining your benefits. So, and that being said, every email, every letter that you get from the VA or whoever, make sure that you read everything and understand it. And if you don't, call 1-800-252-VETS and we'll put you in contact with whoever is necessary to help you with whatever that issue is, if it's a TVC healthcare person or a claims representative or whatever. But just don't just throw it in a pile and not open it, because this first year is pretty crucial. So,
And you can also contact us at texasveterans.com, right?
you can. And one more thing I'll add is just and like Matt said at the beginning, you know, one of the most important things that you can always do is just stay informed. And ways that you can do that are sign up for the VLB email list at texasveterans.com and join the TVC email list at tvc.texas.gov. And that way, you know, you'll receive both of these state agencies' newsletters, and you'll have all kinds of pertinent information just sent into your inbox. And both the VLB and the TVC are on social media. So find us both on Facebook. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And the VLB even has a blog at texasveterans.blog, and there's lots of good information and articles there. So
You're going to get all that information, and it's going to be like getting information through a fire hose, just like it was back at the TAP briefing. And you're going to have somebody that you trust and depend upon to help you interpret what that really means in your context. They draft those letters as best they can. But if you really don't know, if you don't know the rules, you don't know the law, you're going to have a tough time really understand the effective date and the date of receipt and all of the other legalisms that they've got to put in some of those letters. So again, you get yourself an accredited representative that you trust early. And if you need to change that representative, you can. If you don't like him, you having a conflict of interest with him, or you just don't trust him, go find someone that you do trust and share that information with them, and they'll tell you whether it really is important to you, you need to act on it, or just read it and forget it at that point.
Yeah. Ken?
Let me also, on the accredited rep deal, this is a free service all these accredited organizations provide, so don't think it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You've got to get a lawyer. It is a free service, and like the Texas Veterans Commission, which is a sister agency to us, they are the state advocacy agency for Texas veterans and filing claims and compensation and education and employment and so forth and so on. So these services are available. It doesn't cost you a dime. Seek them out, and they will help you.
Okay. Eric?
If I could say something, Matt mentioned something earlier about the fact that you need to, first of all, recognize the fact that you are a veteran once you finish military service. And I had no idea how strong the veteran community was until I got out of the military. And I can say for a fact that every step of the way during my transition, there was a veteran standing there waiting to help me along the way. And oftentimes it takes a veteran to help a veteran. I think we're doing a good job of that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. One is to recognize that, in fact, you are a veteran. Two, we're not going to spoon feed you. You got to ask the question. Right. And then there are people out there that will break down walls to make sure that you're taken care of as a veteran. Okay, well, folks, thanks for listening today. And please join us on our next podcast, the VA Disability Claims, everything you need to know. What you heard today was just a thumbnail of all the different things that we're going to be talking about. I hope you got a lot out of this first podcast, and hopefully you are excited to hear and receive more information in regards to being a success as a veteran in your first year. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again.
The Dog Tag is brought to you by the Texas Veterans Land Board and the Texas Veterans Commission. Find show notes and more information about this subject at texasveteransblog.com/dogtag. If you have questions about this topic or suggestions for other podcast topics, call 1-800-252-VETS, find us on Facebook, or send us an email at vlbinfo@glo.texas.gov. Visit texasveterans.com to find out more about your benefits.